I am your host, Larry Dasilva. Welcome to another edition of Studio 411. We've got actress and author Brenda Bakke joining us from California. Brenda, besides her busy acting schedule and other activities that she engages in, is a first-time author. She has a new book called Driving in L.A., which is the story of the narrator's first 2 years of moving to and surviving in Los Angeles in the early 1980s. From being driven to becoming a professional actress, her story takes us through rapes, cocaine addiction, and prostitution, all while trying to keep her spirit and dreams alive. So we welcome to Studio 411, Brenda Bakke. Brenda, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks.
Very good. Now tell me, what inspired you? Certainly, I think you had enough to certainly you do the book for sure. But what what inspired you at this point in time? I assume over the last couple of years to put pen to paper and write the book.
Well, I actually took me about 20 years to finish the book. I started the book back when I was actually kind of reading a lot of Salinger and other authors, and I decided I just wanted to start putting it down on paper and kind of get some stuff out of my body. And for years, I thought I needed to hang on to all of my stuff from my past because I felt like I needed it as an actor, but recently, I stopped drinking and suppressing all of my memories and past, and just really decided, oh, well, this is something I really want to finish, and I think the story could help people that might be going down the same paths that I went down as young people, tend to do with drugs and getting into the wrong situations, and so I really wanted to finish the book to kind of help other people. And I really wrote it in another character's voice, even though all of these things happened to me in the book, because when I first started, it distanced myself from what had happened to me, so it made it easier. And then I just continued on in that vein, and it just made sense, and I didn't want it to be really a memoir, even though it kind of is, but it's more of a story about survival. So then I was clear enough in my brain to finish the thing after all this time.
There you go.
Which is good. And
now,
I'm a much happier person now, so that's good.
Did you fear that you were going to get like backlash? I got the impression that perhaps, folks in the industry might have said, "You're doing what?" I mean.
Yeah, that's very true. My manager, Michael McLean, who passed away about 15 years ago now, really didn't want me to put the book out because he thought it would be bad for my career. And now I believe that people are a lot more upfront about their pasts and what's going on in the world, and are less ashamed about things that have happened to them, and a little bit more honest with all the social media that's going on. So I became unafraid of telling the truth about my past. In fact, when he was my manager, I had just finished a series called Ned Blessing, and I was playing a prostitute in it. And this Hollywood reporter came to my door and said, "Well, I understand you're playing a prostitute in this TV series, and that you actually were one." And I kind of freaked out and said, "I can't talk to you right now," and closed the door, and I was very nice to him. And my manager, I called my manager, Michael, and he said, "We're going to sue him if he doesn't not print the story." So he made that all go away. So it kind of scared me. And it just doesn't scare me anymore. It really doesn't matter. It was a long time ago. Things happened to me, and there you have it.
There you go.
I'm not afraid anymore.
Yeah, I'll say. Now, in your career, before we get to your upbringing in Oregon, were there folks, especially during the early and middle years of your career, which again still goes strong today, that you kind of maybe had a heart-to-heart, or you looked at them and said, you know what, I think they've been down the same path I've been? I mean, without naming names, unless it's somebody that would feel comfortable with that. Was that ever the case, or was it really no one had an inkling of this tough early life that you went through?
Close friends did, but not anyone in the industry. No, other than my manager. No, my agents. Other than my retired agent. She knew a lot about my past, but no, not many people. I kept it very secret from people in the industry.
I'll say.
Yeah.
Well,
but I can cry really good. I never told anybody why.
There you go. Nice. Brenda Bakke joining us here for the hour on Studio 411, the book Driving in L.A. And actually, it was funny, reading the book, I actually felt like the book should have been called Driven in L.A., because I think, if anything else, not driving in the same sense of behind a wheel, but I think that what you went through was actually made you more driven, meaning to accomplish what you have done with your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. Made me stronger. Made me a lot stronger. I don't think I realized it when I was that young, how strong everything made me. I really didn't become a stronger person until many years after all these things happened to me.
Sure.
My confidence wasn't very good, but I hid it very well.
Well, you wouldn't know it from, like I said, the images from your movies and shots that some of which we have and the audience will see. I mean, you played a pretty, together person. It seemed like tough, no nonsense. So again, a true actress, good at regardless of the situation, hiding behind the image that you portray or that you give out. So I think that's a good thing.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I don't play a lot of real super happy people.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, you haven't done a lot of comedies. Let's put it that way. Maybe the movie with Charlie Sheen, Hot Shots, that was about it. But even there, you were kind of doing kind of a Sharon Stone takeoff, at least what I remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about her career on another appearance. Right now, we're talking about Driving in L.A. Brenda Bakke joining you here on Studio 411. The website for more information, brendabakke.com. Tell me about your early upbringing in Oregon. Born, I sound like Ralph Edwards on This Is Your Life. Born Brenda Jean Bakke in the mid '60s there. So tell me, Oregon, has it changed much? I mean, from what you know, I mean, it's.
Yeah, it really has. I really like going back there now. My mother still lives there. It's really kind of grown up. It's become a really hip city. Everybody knows that. But I left in 1981, so I feel like my impression of it was so youthful that I don't think. I think I can see Oregon a lot better now than I did then. I was very sheltered in Beaverton, and then I moved to live with my father, and I was, working, and then had my own apartment when I was 15, and I was going to school, I was working a job, I was doing theater, I was studying to graduate half year in high school, so I was very busy, so I didn't really know the city. I didn't really know.
Right. But
Portland didn't drive. I never had my driver's license when I was there.
Yeah. But I got the impression you drove anyway, at least in L.A.
Yeah. Well, one of the stories in the book is where I stole the car when I was 14, and I didn't know how to drive. So
I think the statute of limitations is run out on that one, so we can talk about it. But
that's the second chapter.
But in
me stealing the car and not knowing how to drive it.
In the early part of the book, I got the feeling that, again, you were very busy, very focused, but I definitely got the feeling that, you aspired to bigger and better things, and that even at that young age that you really wanted to branch out and go somewhere where you could, maybe live life more and also be more fulfilled.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I was. I didn't want to be there anymore. It's very common, I think, in people that are artistic or any young people. They just want to leave home. They just don't want to stay where their parents are.
Now, anybody from your old theater days? Anybody else that we would know that became famous, or were you kind of like a one-shot person out of that group?
I'm the only one.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And now what?
There wasn't one in my high school that was serious about it, though. I was the only really serious one.
What major city did you live in or near in Oregon?
Well, I was in Portland and Beaverton.
Okay.
So Beaverton is it's a suburb of Portland.
Gotcha. And as you said, now it seems much more hip and whatever. But some of that too, I think we appreciate things more as we get older. You go back and you say, wait a minute, where's that old movie theater? Or where's this? Things seem to get knocked down very quickly. And then you're like, where's my childhood? It's all disappeared.
That's true.
Yeah. Now that you're older, you better understand how life was. Now, your mom and dad, they divorced when you were a kid. Did you have siblings? I know you had a sister, correct?
I have two sisters, two older sisters. Yeah.
And
they both went to school down here in California. But they stayed with my mom. I went to my dad. They're older. One of them has kids, lives in Colorado. The other one is here in Redondo Beach, and I'm very proud of her, as she is the head oncology nurse at Cedars-Sinai, which is a big hospital here in Los Angeles.
Wow, very impressive.
Yeah, we're still good buddies.
Yeah.
We weren't back then when I was a kid, but now we are.
And now your parents divorced. You went to live with your dad, but then you also had your dad remarried at one point. Tell me, how was that? How did that kind of disrupt the family there? A divorce is never easy.
I went to go live with him because he remarried, but he was still drinking a lot. In the book, I say that he was a workaholic, and unfortunately, he was not willing to sign a libel letter for my publisher that let me state the truth about his alcoholism. So it kind of takes away from the book a little bit, which is too bad. But I didn't want my own dad suing me. So.
Yes.
So I changed him from an alcoholic to a workaholic. But it kind of has the same effect, other than a couple chapters in there where I was telling the true stories about him leaving suicide notes in our breadboard with a butcher knife, or coming home very drunk and holding rifles to his head.
Wow.
Leaving gin bottles in the toilet next to my bedroom. So, yeah. So I left my mom to help him, but I really didn't. So.
Now, you write in the book that you said...
That was my plan, but it didn't work.
You write in the book that you said your dad always smelled like coffee. Now, am I to assume that was...
Yeah, there was coffee in the morning, and then it turned into...
Oh, okay. So that wasn't altered because of the libel situation. I got you. So he always smelled of something. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it was something or the other. Yeah.
But now, was it you that when you had events? I don't know if you were into sports, or whatever. But did he show up at things that you were involved with, or no?
Oh yeah. In the book, I write a thing about him showing up at my tennis match in his camper, which. In the book, I describe it as his home, his office on wheels, but we really called it his bar on wheels, because he just kind of sit in it and drink and watch me play tennis. So, so that had to be changed in the book as well. Yeah.
Now, any anger again towards either or both parents? I mean, I know that's that's common with all of us. It's not just.
Sure. Now, no, not at all. Of course, we all go through that with our parents, but no, none at all. No, I mean, everyone's life journey is really their own, and I think blaming other people for things that happen to us is very naive. But we all do it when we're young.
Sure.
But hopefully we grow up and become a little wiser as we get older.
Speaking of being young, I understand you were a housekeeper when you were 12. Was this like at the house, or were you out earning actual money doing this?
I made some money. Yeah, I cleaned one of the kids in my grade school's his mom's house. Yeah, there were a lot of baseboards in that house. I look at people's baseboards now.
Well, let me clarify. The reason she does that, obviously, there's a phobia with baseboards, but also in addition to being a very
no baseboards anywhere.
In addition to being a very talented actress, Brenda is also, as have several. I can think of one that actually I'm hoping to get on the show, Delane Matthews, who is also a very fine actress and also got her real estate license. And this is what Brenda does when she's not entertaining us. She's, showing very high-priced homes, I'm sure. So yeah. So do you tell them, look, I'm just showing the home. I'm not housekeeping it. I'm not cleaning any baseboards.
No, I'm not cleaning your baseboard.
Oh my goodness. So now, when you arrived in L.A. We're getting quite a bit of storm here, so maybe it sets the mood. You felt like you really didn't learn to drive when you were in Oregon. You drove sometimes without a license, but when you came to LA, then someone said, look, you want to drive, you better go get a driver's permit. So I take it that went well on the first try?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I actually went and bought, I had gotten a grant because I had gotten such good grades in school, but it was meant to pay for my school tuition at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. But instead, I was getting tired of taking the bus, so I got $1,600. And I went and found a Mustang, and I bought it, and I just drove away. Even though I didn't really know how to drive.
And and that Mustang, I got the impression the Mustang went by the wayside. I bet you wish you still had the Mustang.
Yeah, I do. It was a 64.5 red with tan interior and a 289 engine. And I actually learned how to tune it up and set the points, change my oil, all those things.
Our floor director is very envious. He's a car nut, and is that true, floor director? A 64.5? Is that in red on top of it?
Original, 64.5.
Oh my goodness! He nearly fell off the chair just hearing that car is not around.
The funny thing about that car is, I owned it for quite a while, and then. When my life was getting a little better, I was probably about 22, 23 years old. 22, I would think, maybe. And I used to go to this Ralph's in Hollywood on Sunset Boulevard, and everyone called it Rock and Roll Ralph's. And I had like a dent in the side of my car where somebody had kind of, backed into me or something. It wasn't my fault. And this guy said, hey, you want those dents taken out of your door? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. It'll be like $20, $40. I'm like, that'd be great. And he got this drill and he punched it in there and pulled out the dents, but then he left all these holes in the side of my door.
Oh, gee. Oh boy. So now wouldn't it be nice to find that car?
It looked worse.
Wouldn't it be nice to find that car? I bet you Jay Leno probably owns it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness. Driving in LA with a 64.5 Mustang. Brenda Bakke joining us for the hour here on Studio 411. The book published by Lulu. And for more information, brendabakke.com. Turning to a more serious note, now while you were still in Oregon, apparently you were, as you discuss in the book, you were raped, and you write about it in the book as someone who was able to compartmentalize it and move on with your life. Again, I don't know if that's a rare trait, or you know, if most women can do that, why? It seems like you're able to do that in life, and that with good things and bad, you kind of can, you know, put them in the background if you want to.
Yeah, well, you know, there's something that I say in the book that's, you know, I try to look at those things as gifts. Otherwise, why would they have happened? Yeah, little things that happen to you can make you more compassionate, make you help other people because you know what could happen to them. Yeah, it's made me a lot more of a compassionate person. And actually, talking about that subject, I was extremely offended with Mr. Trump's little pussy thing that got out there on the news.
Oh, the hats?
No, his mention of grabbing a pussy. And it just, that part of me that is very defensive and protective of women being violated, I was so appalled by that, just because of the experiences that I've been through.
Oh, sure, as I'm sure many other women.
Being raped twice.
And in your case, not to dwell on it a lot, but you were assaulted on 2 occasions within less than a 3-year span. And of course, then even, I believe, one other time several years later. Any advice for young women on this sensitive subject?
Yeah, well,
I mean, because you didn't report these incidents.
Be aware of your surroundings, and yeah, just watch what you're doing, and I know it's really, that's a tough one because it's so it can be so random, and but if it does happen to you, I mean, I wouldn't say go out and report it immediately, because sometimes that becomes horrible for people. They're not believed. They don't get any kind of
like support, you mean?
Relief from it, support, police support. You know, people will say it was brought on by something that they did. So I don't know. That's a really hard one. You know, I guess reporting it's okay, but you really have to talk to people about it or deal with it. You know, just don't try not to just completely bury it and cry a lot, because it's good for you. But I don't know. It's such a broad subject.
Now, did you just
done something like that?
Just to touch a little bit, and then we'll move on from this. During your career, obviously, without going into specifics, did you find that even during your career, let's say the early or middle years, that there were times in the Hollywood, you know, couch system, as they, I think, call it, something like that, that you felt that you were almost in that kind of...
Lucky enough, that never really happened to me. I don't know why. Maybe people thought I was unapproachable. Maybe after those 2 rapes happened, I had this kind of aura about me, or I was too tough or something.
Well, I think it is. I mean,
that never happened to me.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, even before we started taping to the crew, your images, of which he told me some she may not like, but but again, whether they're taken from whether they're taken from movies or whatever, again, you do have kind of a tough girl persona, and that's a compliment. Sometimes you need to have that look, you know. I'm not always smiling Jack either.
I'm really just wimpy. That's really what I am.
Is that?
This is who I really am.
Yes, sexy librarian look here on Studio 411. There you go. We even have a shot of that. Do we have that shot of Brenda with her glasses on? Can we dig that up? Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know what movie that's from, but that looks good.
I can't see it.
No, you'll see it when you watch the show. Yeah, there she is. Look at that.
Am I supposed to react?
Look at that. Huh? Wow. I tell you, I saw that and I said, oh, that's a keeper, that one. I'll tell you.
Well, what is it?
It's you in glasses. It's a shot from one of your movies, I think.
Glasses.
Yeah. Oh, you've had such a lengthy career, I don't expect you to remember. You probably wore glasses in at least 10 or 12 appearances, but no, it looks good.
No, I don't think I've ever worn glasses.
Oh yeah. Oh, then maybe it was taken. I didn't take it. I know that. So anyway, in the book, you talk about many times being uplifted by the kindness of people in many shapes and sizes. Do you find yourself trying to help people, and you know, also, I think you said it earlier, kind of maybe pay back a little bit, pay it forward, I guess is the saying that they use. You find that little things sometimes make you really, and people might say, well, she's a movie star. Why would she pay attention to that? Because I think people have the impression that movie stars are shallow. But I from reading this book, I found exactly the opposite. I think you're an exception to that falsehood.
Yeah, I am. In fact, for the last month, I've been helping my new friend out here in Lake Arrowhead repaint her cabin. And actually, just after we spoke a couple days ago, I went over and helped her rip out 2 of her walls in her new house.
There you go. Andy with
a mask
and with the safety glasses. See, yeah, there you go. And a hat turned backwards. My goodness.
Manicure.
There you go.
Yeah, I really like to help people. I've had a very, very fortunate life. So any way I can give back, I always try to. If I can see someone who needs something, or just a smile, even, you know.
You brought it up a few moments ago, relocating to Los Angeles. I guess you were accepted while you were still in Oregon to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Quite an achievement, but you wound up really only going there, about a year because of all the turmoil and things going on in your life. Do you kind of regret that, or just say, well, it was meant to be that way?
No, I don't regret not doing the 2-year program at all. You know, the year that follows that year, you know, I went through, as you'll read in the book, all kinds of things. But I don't know, it made me who I am today. And I don't know what one more year of school would have really done for me as far as acting goes. When the story ends in the book, I was lucky enough to go out and get a job in Beverly Hills, and met from that job, moved next door and worked at a Tony Roma's in Beverly Hills, and that's where I met my first agent, Walter Bakke. He used to come in and have martinis in the afternoon, and I would make him laugh. So that's how I met my first agent, and after that, I was lucky enough to meet some really great teachers. One man who's a really good friend of mine to this day, Eugene Butler. Started going to workshops in his home, and really started to learn outside of a school setting. A lot more experimental things that really taught me a lot more about acting than I think I would have gotten in that school. Sure. So, my timing was, I'm very, very lucky with the kind of timing I had with all those things.
Brenda Bakke joining us for the hour here on Studio 411, the book Driving in L.A. by Lulu Press, BrendaBakke.com for more information. A quote from one of your fans who's had the opportunity to read the book. Brenda Bakke, she is now and always has been an actress with enormous screen presence. She is the only actress that I have ever seen or worked with that has the Garbo mystique. High praise indeed.
Yes, and he also calls the book Salinger-esque.
Yes, I know. You had mentioned it earlier. Yeah, that reference another critique likened you or the character, which is you in reality, to Holden Caulfield, the main character in Catcher in the Rye by the very interesting late author J.D. Salinger. They say you were reincarnated as Brenda Bakke. Wow, what a story. Told with raw, uncompromising reverence for truth, very, very rare. You like me, which is why I think we hit it off from the beginning, is that I don't think you pull a lot of punches, which I find refreshing. I know people will say, well, she should be more ladylike, or he should be more this or whatever. That's forget the genders. Everybody's the same in my book, and you should tell it like it is. And obviously, with this book, you certainly have done that.
Like that.
Let's see. We'll talk about, in contrast to some of the good traits we were talking about. What bad traits about you do you wish you could change?
Oh, well,
Are these ones we can mention on the air?
I'm turning into Diane Keaton. Yeah. Well, I really should stop smoking, but since I stopped drinking, I have to do one bad thing, Larry.
Okay.
Just one. But I should do that.
Have you tried the e-cigarettes? Although they say now those might be even worse. I don't know.
Yeah,
You could walk around like Betty Davis all day.
I like to smoke because it gives me a really good excuse to go off and be by myself.
Oh, okay. Very good. Stop camera. I have to go out and have a smoke. Is that what?
Yeah. Sorry. No, I have to go think. I just need to think.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
I mumble a lot. I'm a little reclusive.
But I think a lot of that has to do with
other people what my bad traits
I think
are.
a lot of that has to do with what you've been through in life. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, that's what what you have to deal with, and then you've done so very well. Because look at for you to get up in front of a camera, to me, is remarkable, because so many other people would be like just total wallflowers and never amount to the heights that you have reached. In that regard alone. So how you deal with people, I think maybe even doing the realty work has also brought you out more. I would think, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, or do you feel you have to act when you show a house?
No. In fact, that's probably kind of a detriment to me as a real estate broker, because I'm really honest.
Okay. Yeah. Dirty baseboards. I know. Dirty baseboards. Yes. You got to get those.
And I don't wear suits. But a lot of my clients like that I'm really just down to earth, and
sure.
But I'm also very good at it. I'm very organized. I have a good legal mind. I'm very detailed, and I said I'm very honest.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, I don't focus on it. It just kind of comes to me when it does, and I don't go out and knock on doors or anything. So. Yeah. I really started becoming selling real estate because of realtors that I'd had in the past that just didn't take very good care of me, and I just thought that was normal, and I found out that wasn't really true. So I decided I wanted to be someone that took better care of people than your typical, I guess, very stereotypical real estate agent.
Sure. Now, you talk in the book about perhaps having a fear of men. At least that's what I got out of it, naturally, with all the experiences you have. Have you coped with that as you mature? Because we've talked about it. It's the common knowledge. You've never married. Now, I mean, you have someone in your life right now, but do you think that that's hindered you in terms of being able to open up to a man, trust a man, all of the above, or am I just reading too much into it?
No, I don't think you are. I guess, I mean, I think that it's kind of funny. I actually have gone through a lot of men in my life, so I think that my empowerment was like, oh, no, I don't like you anymore. You can go away now. So, which is kind of bad. That's you brought up one of my bad traits.
There you go.
I was a manizer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I was a bit of a manizer.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, oh, yeah.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Okay, all right.
Don't tell anyone.
We can edit that out. No, they said not a chance, not a chance. So, oh my goodness. On that note, Brenda Bakke joining us for the hour here on Studio 411, driving in L.A. All right. I have to ask, you don't have to answer, but that's common knowledge, any well-known celebrities that you dated over the years or no?
That I've dated?
Yeah.
That are well known? No.
No?
Not
Okay.
Dated. No.
Okay.
No.
So these were more like just average Joes that nobody in the business per se?
Yeah, no, I've never really been serious with anyone. I've gone on I haven't had relationships with a lot of actors. I did go on a date or two with Craig Ferguson.
Oh, wow!
All we did was laugh.
The Scottish man, yeah.
We never became romantic.
I heard
we
he's
had a great time.
he's married now, I believe, but he's quite the charmer. I hear. I loved when he had his talk show.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
He's hysterical. We just laughed.
Yeah.
He was great.
No, he's a good guy.
Yeah. So no, not anyone well known. No, sorry.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one.
No, I was the only actor in the relationship. Yeah.
You wrote in the book here that if you ever wrote my quote my stupid autobiography, which you should, and it wouldn't be stupid, I'd probably call it quote all I ever ate was my corn.
Corn. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to?
Yeah, what is that? Is that something we can tell on the air? Okay.
Well, yeah, it was my first social experience, so it was very, very detrimental to my confidence. I was dropped off at school by my mom, and I was like 3, and it was a hot day, and I was in a sweater. I shouldn't have been in a sweater, and I was late. So everyone was sitting down and coloring, so I went in and sat down to color, and this really big girl right across from me was staring at me like she hated me, and she kind of jerked her head, and everybody got up and followed her off, and they just ignored me all day. Nobody would talk to me because she was in charge, and I guess she didn't like me. So I just stood outside by the swing set all day, and it was really hot, and there were bees, and all I ate was my corn.
Oh, wow. So, like I said, we all go through those things that are, kind of traumatic in our young lives.
You're gonna cry any
No.
second.
That's no. Have you ever been to your high school reunion?
No.
No. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people don't.
I graduated early. I didn't even graduate with everyone.
Oh.
I didn't get a hat.
Okay. All right.
I didn't get a gown.
No.
I wasn't a cheerleader. No.
Oh, okay. No. Oh, no cheerleader. But yeah, but you did. What were you telling me you were? You did play sports, so were you doing
tennis? I played tennis. Yeah, I played softball. I was on a great softball team in grade school. Are
you athletic now in your later years? Do you keep active with stuff like that, or no? Besides working
I do yoga and I walk.
Yeah.
I had my car accident in 2000. I had to get neck surgery, so I can't. I used to be a very avid runner, and I can't run anymore because I have 6 titanium screws in my neck, and I don't know if you can see my scar. No. So I have like a door hinge back here, so I can't ski anymore.
You must be a lot of laughs at the TSA going through the airport security.
Yeah, no, they're titanium. They don't go off.
Oh, they don't go off. Oh, my goodness. But if a guy scanned you, he'll be like, ma'am, you have some bolts.
Yeah, you can, right back here. So I walk a lot. I do a lot of yoga now. I play tennis still a little bit.
Sure. There you go. Good to keep fit. Good to keep fit.
How about you? Do you play sports?
Not as much anymore. Used to. Yeah, I could never find a good tennis game. So see, but you're 3,000 miles away. So
that's too
used to
bad.
softball, whatever. But the knees aren't what they used to be. I think maybe if those ever get replaced, then I'll be good for another 15 years. But
maybe a little paddle tennis. That's a little easier.
There you go. Yeah, pool. I like pool. Bowling. So yeah, there you go. Although bowling might hurt you because of your neck, though.
bowling. No, I can bowl.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll get you the what do they call here in the East bocce ball? Not bocce ball. What's the smaller version of bowling? I can't think of it. It's not. Say again. Duck pin bowling.
I don't know it.
Yeah, it's a smaller version of the ball. Yeah.
Bowling,
And instead of two tries, you get 3 to knock the pins down. So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
I told you, you come to Connecticut, we'll hook you up. We'll casino, we'll take you the whole thing. You and your buddy just come on down. Are you a good judge of people after what you've been through? First impression, and are you good at staying neutral when you have to with people? You must be because you're a realtor. So you.
Yeah, I really am. I've actually becoming a realtor helped me with holding my tongue. I in the beginning I tended to kind of have Tourette's, and I was a little too honest. So yeah, I've actually learned how to really stand back and listen a lot more.
There you go.
Which is good for me.
I'll say. No. What things make your day?
Now?
Yes, yeah. Well, all your life, but I mean,
make my days wonderful. Or,
yeah. I mean, what kind of little or big things? I mean, is there? Do you find from the age you are now to let's say 20, 30 years ago, do you find that you appreciate life more, you embrace life more, especially after what you've been through? I would think, yeah, you'd be like sitting pretty right now. You're still. Just little moments with strangers. Obviously, nature. I cried the other day. I saw this little wildflower that popped up on my property. I was like, oh. So things like that. But like at the post office today, there was this elderly, crippled woman whose wheelchair couldn't get through the post office door, and she was stuck right in the middle of the door where you went in and out, so nobody could go in or out. So I just stayed there and helped her figure it out. So things like that. Yeah, very good.
Makes me really happy.
Now, if you hadn't succeeded in acting, you probably told me realty, but if you hadn't succeeded in acting, let's say by the late '90s, when you were doing movies like Hot Shots and so many other great films, what would you have done? Or again, I think you were so driven that the word failure or not going to happen, I don't think that was in your vocabulary or your mental state.
I may have. Maybe writing, but I don't know. It's really impossible to say, especially for the person that I was in those days.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know what else I would have done. I would enjoy teaching, I think.
How about teaching acting or no, workshops?
Teaching acting, but I think that you really need a lot of experience to teach acting. So I think I would have been a little bit too young to teach, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm a lot more patient now, and I don't know. I feel like I'd be a better teacher now.
There you go. Absolutely.
But maybe teaching. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Brenda Bakke joining us here for the hour on Studio 411, the book Driving in L.A., published by Lulu. And for more information, BrendaBakke.com. Now, back to the early parts of your life. You met someone who introduced you to cocaine, and your world slowly came crashing down. At that point, you were asked not to come back to the academy where you were learning your craft. So, like so many during the 80s, obviously, the big C word there played quite a big factor in your life. Tell us a little about that experience. That is difficult for many to break.
Yeah. God, I don't even want to talk about it. It's so evil. That's all I want to say.
Sure.
It's evil.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. It's just one of the most disgusting things in the universe. But yeah, I mean, anyone that gets addicted to anything understands what it's like to have something make you feel better or different from yourself, or something that's numbing what you've been through, which kind of happened after those things, the couple of rapes that I went through had happened to me. So I think that, I would go out for cocktails after work, which is where I met the guy that dealt the cocaine. So I was numbing stuff in my life, and I think it's very natural for people that have been through harder things in their lives to do. I think it's very normal for young people to do that, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a horrible thing that's happening now with all of the people that are becoming addicted to heroin because of prescription drugs. And I don't want to be political again, but I really wish someone would do something about all the doctors that are prescribing them and the drug companies that are supplying them and not keeping a better watch on the prescription drugs that people are getting addicted to and dying from.
Sure.
It's a very easy thing to just become numb. And I just hope that people have some kind of influence to go out and experience people and nature and art and music and even just communication with other people, even strangers, and
a little verbalizing. A little verbalizing would help instead of the texting, but that's my soapbox.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
Completely agree with you.
Yeah. You talk in the book about control. What does that word mean for you in your life throughout? I mean, you seem like you're very much in control, but what is that? Someone says control. I mean, what does that mean? Being controlled, in control?
That one portion of the book, control.
Out of control. I mean, how do you?
Choices, isn't it? Doesn't control choices and actions? Yeah. I mean, you can't ever control everything all the time.
Right. Otherwise, it becomes micromanaging.
Yeah. Nobody will like you.
No. But even you may not like yourself. I think sometimes you just have to kind of just let things go. It's like, for instance, myself. I try to make a list of things I'm going to do, and I came to the realization several years ago that if I do 3 out of those 20 things correctly, then you know what? Then maybe tomorrow I'll do another 3 and just forward the list. Otherwise, you drive yourself crazy, with that.
Yeah, little baby steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect all the time.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think in our remaining moments here on Studio 411 with Brenda Bakke, do you think it would have been better or worse for you in today's society if you were now in this century, this last decade and a half, if you were, quote, driving in LA? Do you think it would have been more difficult for you, or do you think life or your situation would have been easier because of the differences between now and the early 1980s?
Wow, that's really a hard question. I think it would have been harder now.
I mean, you think
many reasons, just the.
I mean, do you think in LA, just to stay on the subject of LA, do you think that how do I put it? The victims that you hear about, and you were to a degree were a victim, but those not just that want to be actors, but that go there from whether it's the deep south or way up north like you were, that go there and kind of naive. I mean, I think you had a certain inner strength and, as we discussed earlier, toughness that allowed you to weather this stuff, whereas I think a lot of other people would have either run or, worst case, wouldn't have survived. So
Right.
Do you think that's changed, or it's still very much dog eat dog there?
I think it's just as bad, if not worse, just because there's so many different. I'm sure I haven't looked at it recently, but so many things to suck people in, to pay for this and join this workshop and get headshots done this way and spend and work. And I think it would be harder, but I'm not sure about that. I just know that how lucky I was to be able to meet an agent at a bartending job. I mean, that, how often does that happen?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just as tough for people now as it was then. I don't know. I think you really have to just, really work on your craft and, get into theater, do something that's real, that you're actually deeply involved in, instead of just trying to be beautiful and perfect all the time. And I think that's the best approach to being driven in Los Angeles.
There you go.
To become an actor.
You have you have a quote in the back of the book by the renowned late Maya Angelou from 2012, not long before her passing. Quote, each of us has lived through some devastation, some loneliness, some weather superstorm. When we look back at each other, we must say, I understand how you feel because I have been there myself. We must support each other because of us. It is more alike than we are unalike. Maya Angelou. So I can tell, unquote, that is certainly a strong sentiment that hit home with you, and that you obviously, as you said earlier, try to live your life and also impart that perhaps to others, helping others. So you're a good person. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Now, you've been keeping busy. We've only got a couple of minutes left here with Brenda Bakke, the book Driving in L.A. There was a gap there between, I want to say, 2004, 2010, where you kind of, maybe were you focusing on the realty business? Because it seemed like you were kind of out of the acting eye for a bit.
Yeah, well, I had the car accident, and my, as I said, my manager died. So the car accident really affected my life, and my manager passing away affected my life, and I was left with some agents that we really didn't see eye to eye on several things, so I decided to just stop for a while.
There you go.
Yeah,
there
that's
you go.
what happened. Yeah.
And now we are busier. We are busier than ever. Some movies appearances. Recently, you've been on Grey's Anatomy, a movie that you filmed not long ago called Unbelievable, with a lot of exclamation points. Also Billy Boy. So again, we're going to be seeing a lot more of you, I'm sure. And now, you were saying before off air, before we started, you had done Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher back in the day. I really couldn't find any talk show appearances. Where was your buddy Craig Ferguson? Why didn't he have you on his show?
I don't know. He wasn't my buddy anymore.
Oh, my goodness.
I wasn't a big enough star to be on his show.
That's incredible. I mean, he just, like, every night it was like, a celebrity starlet, a well-known actress. I couldn't believe it. So when you tell them, you ask them that, hey, how come you have a game show now? How come I'm not on the game show? Oh my goodness! Well,
I really only want to be on Family Feud, though.
Oh,
That's
Family Feud.
So I want to be on. Yeah.
Nice. Well, Steve Harvey, huh? That'd be good. Now, a good thing if it was Richard Dawson, he'd be planting a kiss on every guest. There you go.
He was really annoying.
That was his shtick back in the day. All right, Brenda Bakke, we thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it.
No problem. We'll have you back again for sure. We'll talk about Hollywood and all that comes with that. The book Driving in L.A., a novel by Brenda Bakke, Lulu Publications, and for more information, BrendaBakke.com. Brenda, hang in there with us a second. We thank you folks for joining us today on another episode of Studio 411. We hope you enjoyed having Brenda on the show. And I have to read one more quote here before we go. I was speechless after reading the book, which I read in under a day. The book is so genuine and real that you can't help feeling like yourself, having been present or having experienced the events described in the book. So again, it's hit home with a lot of folks, and it's a great book. I enjoyed it, and again, we thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next time on Studio 411. Take care.